school shooting inside the horror tonight. The children rushing out, tears streaming down their faces, and this evening, the two suspects in court, both students. And tonight, the description, what happened in that classroom. Students who rushed the gunman, one a Marine recruit, the other student losing his life to save others, and what he had told his family beforehand. Also tonight, the severe weather outbreak at this hour, it has turned deadly. A man swept away in the floods, new tornado watches in effect right now. Roads washed away, students who could not leave school forced to sleep there overnight. Rob has the new track tonight. The breaking headline at this hour involving Donald Trump Jr., subpoenaed by the Senate Intelligence Committee, that committee led by Republicans, what they want to ask him about. The innocent man who was arrested and jailed after recording officers with his phone, held behind bars for 3 days without cause. Now the sheriff and 2 deputies facing federal charges. Walmart and the major change tonight when it comes to tobacco amid the exploding use of e-cigarettes. And what's in a name? Baby Archie revealed to the world, Harry and Meghan and what they reveal, and Archie meets the Queen.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night, and we are following severe weather right now. It has turned deadly, but we are going to begin tonight with the horror now revealed inside that school shooting in Colorado. The 2 suspects, both students, both in court today, and what we have now learned. There was a massive and quick response to the call of an active shooter. 9 students shot, one of them killed as he rushed the gunman. Children from kindergarten to 12th grade inside that school, their distraught parents waiting for word that they were safe. Tonight, the 2 young heroes, including that student, Kendrick Castillo, who lost his life, what he once told his parents, and the other hero, a young Marine recruit. We hear from him right here tonight. ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, leads us off from the scene.
So, Mr. Erickson,
tonight, that first glimpse of the young man accused of bringing murder to this Denver area STEM school. 18-year-old Devin Erickson, that stripe of fuchsia in his black hair, nails painted black, saying a single word in his first court appearance.
No.
Nodding vigorously when the judge addressed him, but never looking up. He and a 16-year-old accomplice facing nearly 30 charges, including murder. Just after lunchtime Tuesday, Erickson allegedly calling out "nobody move" in his class before opening fire. 9 students shot, one of them killed. His name was Kendrick Castillo. His family telling reporters that his son said to him if there was ever a school shooter, he wouldn't think twice about acting. And tonight, details about his last heroic moments.
Complete disregard for his own safety. He was immediately there to respond. He was immediately on the shooter, and he was ready to end the threat.
Brandon Bialy was one of the boys who lunged towards the shooter.
There was fear. I still look back at it, and I still feel a bit of fear when I think back to it. But after that point, it is just doing what I thought I should do.
These high school seniors, including Castillo, were just 3 days away from graduation. But there are other heroes as well.
As we go through this, I think we're going to find that there were a lot of students that did a number of great heroic things.
Police there within minutes.
They had to force their way into the school, which they were able to do, and they just happened to pick a door that they forced into that one of the suspects was right, down the hall from that door.
Soon after the all clear sounded, the kindergarten through high school students bused to reunification centers where anxious parents waited and waited for those hugs. Tonight, questions about what allegedly drove that 18-year-old boy and that 16-year-old to murder.
We're trying to get a suspect info. We do have one person shot in the lower back. School's in lockdown.
The male shooter had been active in school theater, even had his own YouTube channel featuring cover songs.
It didn't seem like he was the type to do it at all.
But when police searched his house, they found his car spray painted with Expletive Society. His accomplice, a 16-year-old, also a student at the school. The suspect's the first pair of student shooters to target a school since the Columbine massacre 20 years ago. Tonight, that high school changing its sign in solidarity. Our hearts are with you, STEM.
So let's get live to Matt Gutman in Colorado tonight outside that school, which will remain closed for the rest of the week, we were told, Matt. And we also know the second suspect was also in court today.
That's right, David. And with a strikingly different demeanor, this suspect, the 16-year-old, had short-cropped hair, was engaged and very attentive with the judge. And right beside him was sitting his mother because he is a juvenile. Now, he was born a female, but his defense team petitioned the court that he be recognized as a male. That was granted. The DA is now considering whether or not to charge him as an adult. David.
Matt Gutman in Colorado tonight. Matt, thank you. And next to the severe weather threat at this hour, I mentioned at the top, a man swept away. He did not survive in the floods. And now the new tornado threat at this hour. Storm chasers tracking more than a dozen tornadoes from this system, and police conducting water rescues, pulling 3 women and a dog from their flooded car in Austin as the region continues to get pounded. We do have the track tonight. ABC's Maggie Rulli is in Houston.
Tonight, storms firing up across the South. Day 2 of a deadly severe weather outbreak.
Wow, look at that.
18 reported tornadoes tearing across the plains. 4 inches of rain per hour, swamping drivers in the Houston area, washing away roads.
Somebody's in their car, we get them out.
Some 250 calls for help, more than 36 rescued. Students wading through the parking lot at this high school. And at one elementary school, 60 students sleeping on cots. They couldn't get home. Administrators, teachers, and staff all pitching in throughout the night to care for them. Worried parents picking up their kids this morning.
Couldn't sleep well.
New body cam video showing the danger of flash flooding. Austin police racing to save 3 women and their dog Friday. Their vehicle stuck on a bridge in fast-moving water. Late today, a man was found dead in a lake nearby after being swept away by floodwaters. And David, I want to show you this lake here is already overflowing. And right now we're bracing for potentially 3 more days of more rain and maybe even more tornadoes. David?
All right, Maggie, our thanks to you again tonight. Let's get right to Rob Marciano tracking it all for us. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. Powerful storms now moving through East Texas, northern Louisiana, and southern Arkansas. Here you see it on the radar. We've got a tornado watch out for much of this area until 11 o'clock tonight. Even one active tornado warning. Worried about Jonesboro as these storms rocket to the east at 45 miles per hour. Some snow tonight in Denver. That cold pool is going to actually drag the southern part of the system and slow it down. Northern one kind of takes off, but Atlanta tomorrow afternoon, you'll get a line of storms. And the southern part of this front, again, Shreveport, Alexandria, Baton Rouge, Houston. Maggie mentioned more rainfall coming tomorrow night into Friday, 5 to 8 inches. Not needed. David?
All right, Rob, we'll be tracking it with you. Thank you. Next to that breaking headline tonight involving Donald Trump Jr. Late today, we learned he has now been subpoenaed by the Senate Intelligence Committee, that committee led by Republicans, what they want to ask him about. ABC's Mary Bruce on the Hill tonight.
Tonight, in a surprising move, the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee issuing the first known subpoena to a member of the president's family. Just a few weeks ago, son Donald Trump Jr. said he was absolved by the Mueller report.
It's been an incredible vindication for me, for my father, for our entire family.
Trump Jr. was involved in that Trump Tower meeting with a Russian lawyer and was also briefed about plans to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. He already testified in 2017, but now they want to talk to him again. It all comes as the war between the White House and congressional Democrats is reaching a boiling point.
We've talked for a long time about approaching a constitutional crisis. We are now in it.
The House Judiciary Committee tonight voting to hold Attorney General Bill Barr in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over the full Mueller report and the underlying evidence.
The ayes have it.
It happened just hours after President Trump took that extraordinary step, invoking executive privilege to block Democrats from getting the unredacted report. Accusing the chairman of a blatant abuse of power, the White House today said the president had no other option.
Are you kidding me? You can't assert executive privilege after the fact when the closest advisors to the president have already spoken to Team Mueller.
But Republicans were quick to defend the White House and the Attorney General.
Bill Barr is following the law, and what's his reward? Democrats are going to hold him in contempt.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the president's stonewalling is making his own case for impeachment.
Every single day, the president is making a case. He's becoming self-impeachable.
So let's get to Mary Bruce. She's live up on the Hill again tonight. And Mary, the president's son is now the subject of a subpoena, as you reported there at the top of your piece. Any response from him tonight?
Well, David, no word yet from Trump Jr. himself, but a source close to him tells us that he is exasperated by all of this and that he had offered to answer any additional questions in writing. So right now it's unclear where this goes from here, but the president has vowed to fight all subpoenas. David.
Mary Bruce tonight. Mary, thank you. And as you know, President Trump is also responding tonight to that New York Times investigation revealing details on 10 years worth of his taxes, showing that he lost more than $1 billion from 1985 to 1994. They report he lost more than any other individual in that decade. And tonight, his appearances on TV during that time, including on Oprah, what he said despite what his taxes reportedly show. Here's John Carl.
The tax documents obtained by the New York Times showed Donald Trump was awash in red ink at a time he was portraying himself as the ultimate business genius, master of the art of the deal.
Well, I really think you have it or you don't have it. And I hate to say that because, it's something that I feel strongly about. You either have it or you don't.
The Times did not review the president's actual tax returns, but they did see official IRS documents that showed Trump racked up $1.17 billion in losses for the decade spanning 1985 to 1994. Year after year, the Times writes, Mr. Trump appears to have lost more money than nearly any other individual American taxpayer. In fact, Trump lost so much money that he was able to avoid paying income taxes for 8 of the 10 years. But you wouldn't know it from listening to Trump back then selling himself.
I really go by instinct and I go by my gut feel. Everything I touch turned to gold immediately.
He built an empire on debt, buying Eastern Airlines, turning it into Trump Airlines, and draining some $7 million a month to keep it flying, losing big on his signature casino, and even losing money for a time with Mar-a-Lago, which he bought in 1985 for only $10 million. Today, responding to the New York Times, the president at first explained the reason for his losses, tweeting, "You always wanted to show losses for tax purposes. It was sport." And then, in the same tweet, he hammered the story as, quote, highly inaccurate.
So let's get to John. He's live at the White House tonight. And John, Democrats in Congress are now preparing to escalate their efforts to get the president's tax returns.
David, we're told that House Democrats will decide tomorrow whether or not to go to court and to issue a subpoena in an attempt to try to force the Treasury Department to turn over the president's more recent tax returns. David?
John Carl, great to have you as always. Next tonight, there are now federal charges for a sheriff and 2 deputies accused of outrageous treatment of a man who was recording police with his phone. He was arrested and then held for 3 days without cause. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
So they got somebody on the loose around here. This video that's all over Facebook is what started it all. 26-year-old Kevin Simpson was recording from his front lawn as Chester County Sheriff's deputies were responding to a car wreck where someone ran from the scene. For reasons that aren't clear tonight, the police didn't want him recorded. He's on his property an hour south of Charlotte last November, and Sheriff Alex Underwood, known around here as Big A, tells him to get back to his porch. And when Simpson talks back, the sheriff begins to arrest him. The new indictment takes over where the video leaves off, saying that the sheriff and 2 officers demanded Simpson's cell phone, and when they didn't get it, one of them beat him up. Prosecutors say he was detained in jail for 3 nights for no reason, and that the officers gave false statements to the FBI about why they held Simpson and took his phone. And what they didn't realize at first, the video was broadcast live. The sheriff and 2 others are facing several federal charges tonight, and until this plays out in the courts, the sheriff is being replaced.
David? Steve, thank you. There are new numbers tonight from the U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. authorities reporting more than 109,000 undocumented migrants were stopped last month. That's the most in a decade, including more than 58,000 families and more than 8,800 unaccompanied minors. There are new tensions between the U.S. and Iran tonight. The U.S. announced new sanctions on the country's metals industry just today. The Pentagon releasing video tonight of B-52 bombers leaving Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana for the Middle East after the White House accused Iran and its allies of threatening U.S. troops. Today, Iran announced it will stop complying with parts of the nuclear deal unless Europe, China, and Russia make up for the sanctions from the U.S. Meantime, tonight, the big reveal. Baby Archie made his debut. What we heard from Harry and Meghan as the baby, Archie, meets the Queen. ABC's Lindsay Davis from Windsor.
Arm in arm, a giddy and beaming Duke and Duchess of Sussex finally presenting Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. Meghan glowing, calling the first days of motherhood magic.
It's pretty amazing, and I have the 2 best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
baby Archie swaddled tightly in Dad Harry's arms.
Can we have a little peek at it? Just can't quite see his face.
Giving the world a closer look, the new parents say they're still not quite sure who he takes after.
We're still trying to figure that out.
His looks are changing every single day, so who knows?
Just 2 days old, Archie completely unaware of the history he's making. The 7th in line to the British throne, he is the first multiracial baby born into the House of Windsor, the son of the first American to marry a royal in nearly a century. Harry and Meghan first releasing this black and white portrait of the new royal family, the palace then bringing that moment to life with this vibrant version. We've also learned Meghan gave birth in a London hospital. No cameras staked outside or public family visits that for years have been part of royal tradition. The Duke and Duchess instead savoring private time with their son.
He has the sweetest temperament. He's really calm and...
He gets that from.
And with a wave, the new family of 3 beginning their own chapter in royal history.
The Duke and Duchess decided not to give their baby boy a royal title. They're electing at this time for him simply to be known as Archie, which means genuine and bold.
Amid the measles scare and the push to get kids vaccinated, tonight the student who did not want to get vaccinated for chickenpox, he sued so that he could go back to school. Tonight, his attorneys have now revealed he has come down with the chickenpox. Here's Gio Benitez.
He's the high school basketball star from Kentucky who sued his local health department because it wouldn't let him go to school without the chickenpox vaccine. But tonight, senior Jerome Kunkel revealing he wound up with the chickenpox after all, the 18-year-old refusing to get vaccinated after an outbreak of more than 30 cases at his Catholic school.
As a Catholic, we believe that, abortion, it's wrong, morally wrong. And since that the vaccine's derived from aborted fetal cells, that obviously goes directly against that.
The vaccine can be traced back to the use of cells from 2 aborted fetuses from the 1960s, but even the Vatican has decided that it's morally acceptable for Catholics to get them because they protect children. In the end, Kunkel lost his lawsuit and almost 2 months of school, but now went back to class this week, his family saying he is no longer contagious. And David, tonight, Kunkel's lawyer telling us he did not intentionally contract the disease to get immunity, but believes he got the chickenpox while serving Mass. David?
Gio, thank you. Index tonight in a massive weapon seizure late today in Los Angeles. Take a look. The ATF executing a search warrant at a Holmby Hills home. The arsenal recovered there. Hundreds, if not thousands, of firearms. Authorities say this is all part of an ongoing investigation. You might have noticed drivers for Lyft and Uber went on strike today in major cities and in small towns demanding higher wages. And they say their costs are going up while investors make millions. The strike comes just 2 days before Uber's IPO is expected to generate up to $90 billion. Walmart announcing tonight a crackdown on tobacco sales to minors. Walmart will raise the minimum age to buy tobacco products to 21. They will also stop selling fruit and dessert-flavored nicotine for e-cigarettes. And the cost of tomatoes could soon spike by as much as 70%. That warning from Mexican producers after the U.S. Commerce Department announced it would reimpose anti-dumping tariffs on Mexican imports. Mexico supplied the tomatoes eaten here in the U.S. Finally tonight here, America Strong. The fire captain and the puppy he rescued twice. That's Captain Paul Bryant of the North Charleston Fire Department trying to get to a trapped puppy buried under the rocks.
You can do it. You can do it.
He was responding to a rescue call after witnesses heard the puppy crying.
There you go. He's coming out.
One more gentle tug.
There we go. How are you?
The puppy, a bit stunned at first, but you can see it as he shakes it off, suddenly wagging his tail, kissing that fire captain.
Thank you. Go back in there.
Checked out by a vet, he was then taken to the Charleston Animal Society and put up for adoption. And when Captain Bryant learned no one had claimed him, he returned to save that puppy again.
This is meant to be. He's my dog, and he's coming along with me.
He was then asked about a name.
Does he have a name? Yeah, we're going to call him Rock.
All right. Moments later.
And here he comes right now. Oh, my goodness.
Immediately kissing holding that fire captain again and showing his love right in front of the camera. Then Fire Captain Paul and his puppy Rocky on their way. Rocky, one look back, and then he was off. Rocky's going home, and as the captain said, it was meant to be. I hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.